Another year and no holiday card from Wizards of the Coast. I wonder why they never send me one. Oh, hello. 2020 truly was the year of despair, of fear, of us having to fight, constantly fight, against hopelessness and nihilism. And that's just me talking about Magic the Gathering. Oh, that's why they never send me one. Oh well. For this video, I will be focusing my list of mistakes on the game of Magic the Gathering itself, and omitting the PR disasters that the company that makes this game happened to get itself into this year. After all, 2020 is the year where none other than Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman had to sue Wizards of the Coast over them allegedly hindering the production of their latest Dragonlance trilogy, and the company allegedly not even paying them for their work. In the actual legal document, Wizards of the Coast is described as a company, and I quote, engulfed in controversies. And many of the examples listed in that document were all sorts of things relating directly to Magic the Gathering. I will repeat that. Beloved sci-fi fantasy authors Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman, whose books the majority of you probably grew up reading, literally described Wizards of the Coast in a lawsuit against them as engulfed in controversies. That tracks. Sadly, that really is a great description. And there were just too many of those controversies for me to make an entire video around. If I did, this would be the controversy video where all I covered were the controversies and not the mistakes and errors I saw happening in the game of Magic the Gathering itself. No, I must limit this video to what directly took place in the game, be it products or mechanics or other things within the game of Magic the Gathering itself. If I try to tackle that long list of controversies, we'll be here for days. They were numerous, they were nasty, and Wizards of the Coast was engulfed in them this year. Let us begin with my honorable mention, again, specifically relating to the game, which I would say was the removal of Jumpstart from Magic Arena. While nowhere near as bad as the 5 main mistakes I'm about to get into, I felt that this blunder warranted some mention because it's a classic case of Wizards of the Coast not wanting to listen to its customers, not wanting to let us play the game how we want to play it, and instead opting to dictate how the game is played. In this case, by flat out removing what was, by all counts, an incredibly popular way to play Magic the Gathering on their premier digital client during a pandemic when everyone was stuck at home. Why would this extremely popular new way to play Magic of the Gathering be removed at all, let alone so quickly? Customers wanted to pay to play this style of Magic the Gathering. If anything, it should have been expanded upon. New decks could have been created. Contests could have been held within the community for players to create their own decks, submit them, and winners picked, have those decks put on the client, and then reward the people who created those decks with digital prizes. It could have turned into a major driving point, a major selling point of Magic Arena. And in my evaluation, that is exactly why it was taken away. They did not want Jumpstart to be why everyone played Arena, because Arena has a very specific and, let's be honest, very greedy economy that is built around Standard and Draft. Grinding ladders, redeeming wildcards, and Jumpstart is not a part of that economic plan, so it had to go. And you can have it for a little bit, but then we need to take it down and have all of you get back to the grind. Well, I left Magic Arena when it left, and I was not the only one. In truth, Arena itself would have occupied a place on this list for its terrible economy, its dwindling rewards, its failure to improve upon its own software, but that's not something that's unique to 2020. That's just Magic Arena at this point. And so, sticking to things unique to 2020, we move on to the 5th biggest mistake in Magic the Gathering this year, and that would be the repositioning of Magic as being a high-priced collectible more so than it being a game, as demonstrated through the overwhelming pivot to high-end products, which often only came in premium and ultra-premium styles. This was the year that Wizards of the Coast decided to begin cashing in their chips. $100 booster packs, doubling the price of Masters sets, 33 secret layers, one of which was several $100s for 5 fetch lands, collector's boosters, huge price tag, but you can't actually play with them. But it's not about playing with packs of Magic cards anymore, is it? It's about spending money for the collectible inside. Once again, I have no problem with high-end collectible items for whales if it is in addition to the game itself and those game pieces remaining, if only in a basic form, readily and affordably available. But when Wizards of the Coast takes a set like Double Masters and introduces, of all things, $100 VIP booster packs, and then, in addition to that, also raises the price on Double Masters non-VIP packs based on the illusory premise that they have not one but 2 rares in each pack, well, that is Wizards of the Coast declaring that their interest lies less in making and selling a game for everyone, and instead leaning fully into the reality that there's enough collectors out there with deep wallets that they can make more and more, while their primary audience becomes fewer and fewer people. I believe that pivoting the game in this way ultimately is detrimental for the game. It drives away customers. It diminishes access. It dwindles enthusiasm. I remember when they put expeditions and masterpieces in $4 booster packs, and it made the entire player base hyped each time a pack was opened, because everyone had a chance at getting that lottery card in an affordable $4 pack. But you know what? When I saw VIP packs opened, it was often met with cynicism and distaste, as these were products not for everyone, but only for a select few, the financially well-off, or perhaps the financially foolish. $100 for a booster pack of Magic the Gathering. You know, a brand new PlayStation, Switch, or Xbox game costs less than that, in some cases half of that. $300 for a collector's box of Commander Legends? That is the price of a Nintendo Switch. Magic the Gathering was a game that kids used to play, that we'd spend our lunch money and allowance on booster packs and starter decks and save up for a booster box. And while those products still exist, 2020 was, in so many ways, the year that they became dwarfed by the unending parade of premium products and high-end collectibles. And with Hasbro already on record as saying they want to see profits double next year, I fear this is not just one of the biggest mistakes in Magic, but a portent of what is to come. And what about the game itself? Well, 2020 was a year that the game kept breaking, and as a result needed ban after ban, to the point that 2020 surpassed any other year in terms of the number of cards that needed to be banned. We not only saw record bans in Standard, but bans were also widespread across all of Magic's formats. And while I do not disagree with the need for many, if not all of these bans, it is the obvious change in internal philosophy and/or perhaps development that has led to this climate of pushed cards, unbalanced formats, and the need for so many bans. In fact, 2020 saw double, yes, I repeat, double the number of bans in Standard alone than in 2019, a year already plagued and hindered by constant cards breaking Magic's premier and gateway constructed format. You know, there's a reason Aaron Forsythe famously made the statement that he would, quote-unquote, have preferred to go through his entire career as director of Magic R&D without ever having to ban a card in Standard. And that was in response to the unprecedented need to ban not one, but 2 cards many years back. Having to ban cards is a thing to be avoided. Making cards that need to be banned is a thing to be avoided. Why? Because it's bad for the game. If you buy a pack of Magic cards, open them up, you want to play with them. To learn one or possibly more of those cards has been banned from the game is a feel-bad situation, to say the least. You've essentially just bought a pack with a dead card inside. But in addition to those feel-bads, the discouragement towards players who spend time, effort, and yes, a lot of money putting together a deck only to have it banned away months or sometimes mere weeks later is the sort of thing that makes players quit the game. It discourages exploration and participation in Standard, Magic's premier constructed format, or I suppose what once was Magic's premier constructed format, as Commander seems to have supplanted it. And I honestly believe that is in no small part due to the fact that players do not live in constant threat of having their decks banned out from under them in Commander. Heck, 2020 saw Vintage get its first power level ban since 1996. The first since 1996. But even just looking at Standard, it was amazing to me researching this and seeing year after year after year of no Standard bans. 2016, not a single ban in Standard. 2015, not a single ban in Standard. 2014, not a single ban in Standard. 2013, not a single ban in Standard. 2012, not a single ban in Standard. 2011, whoa, there were 2 bans in Standard that year. Stoneforge Mystic and Jace the Mind Sculptor. How embarrassing. 2010, no Standard bans. 2009, no Standard bans. 2008, no Standard bans. 2007, not a 1. 2006, nope. 2005, aha, the infamous record banning of 8 Standard cards due to the affinity mechanic, and we still had more bans this year alone, not to mention the lead-up in increasing Standard bans the year before and the year before that. It is clear that something has changed to bring about this environment. It needs to change back. But of course, Standard would have had an even higher record of bannings if Wizards of the Coast did not sidestep yet another mistake this year by offering a mass errata of cards, again, the likes of which Magic the Gathering has never before seen, as a response to the game-wide disaster that was Companions. Companions were a problem from the very beginning. Literally, they needed to preemptively ban one in Commander before the Ikoria set was even released. But it was far from just a problem in Commander. I previously mentioned the first power level banning in Vintage since 1996. Well, guess what? That banning was of Luris of the Dream Den, a companion. Indeed, companions took over every format they were legal in, and they didn't just take over those formats, they warped them around themselves to the point that something had to be done. These cards needed to be not banned, but patched, nerfed. A massive errata was issued. Again, this is not something Wizards of the Coast does. This is historic, literally changing the rules of the mechanic, weakening it, and making it so that on any of these multitude of cards that you can open in a booster pack, the rules written on the card are no longer the actual rules of the card. That's right. Reading the card no longer explains the card when it comes to companions. You have to, look it up online. They were revised to be, worse. So much so that they were no longer really viable in most of the formats and decks that they had been. It might as well have been a ban. I feel it was an act to save the embarrassment of banning nearly a dozen or more cards across multiple formats. Companions were a mistake. A colossal one. And this sort of mistake, again, like the numerous bans before it, was bad for the game. It's a poor reflection on Magic, isn't it, as a game? Magic is supposed to be the greatest game in the world, designed by the greatest minds in gaming, but problems like this, of this colossal of a scale, make it look like amateur hour. And it's not amateur hour, but I'm talking about optics here. It's a very bad look for the game to outsiders, and a very bad feel for the game to those who play in it. Maybe, and I do want to stress that this is especially my opinion here, but just maybe when there's so many new products, so many new things to make and design, and perhaps most damning, a Hasbro demand to have explosive must-have cards, all of which fall under an even larger demand for skyrocketing sales, and thus a new thing to sell every single week, mistakes like this are going to happen more and more. And, they have. Hire more people, pay everyone gads and gads of money, and most importantly, have corporate back off with any demands other than just go off, make a great game, and then let us do the marketing and pushing of it. And maybe mistakes like these won't have become the new normal. Unfortunately, I don't think Wizards of the Coast is looking to increase spending on staff and pay despite their record profits. After all, they don't seem willing to spend the money on ensuring a quality product even makes it to our hands. Never mind banned cards or added companions, 2020 saw constant quality assurance and print issues of the cards themselves, and it's the second biggest mistake of the year. Now, I talked about this at length already, but cards like this should never have made it to the consumer's hands, and yet the print quality on Magic the Gathering products, from Core Set 2021 booster packs to Commander Legends, collector boosters to Secret Lair foils, has been reliably unreliable. An absolute travesty for any game, but especially one that seems to be pivoting so strongly into becoming a collector-first, game-second product. Now, Magic the Gathering has been having quality control issues well before 2020, but what we saw in 2020 was such a dramatic return and even rise in those problems, from an aberration to the norm. Quite frankly, I feel confident that if you buy a box of Commander Legends collector boosters, you are almost assured to receive defective, terrible quality product. A Magic the Gathering card should be a work of art in your hands. The owners of Magic the Gathering products should brag and boast about its quality, the longevity, the perfect, beautiful inking, the fact that it is actually flat. Again, this is not just about foils, as some of the problems we saw this year included widespread issues with the inking, cards opened within the same set not being anywhere close to matching in their darkness or vibrancy, or lack thereof. How can the game be making this much money and not be able to afford new ink cartridges for its printers? Toner levels low. Replace cartridge. Come on. So what do I feel was the worst mistake to happen in Magic the Gathering this year? What could have been worse than a shift towards high-priced products, record cards needing bans, companions needing a mass pseudo-ban errata, and all of this happening with consistently low quality, in some cases defective materials like cardboard and ink? Well, it's something that speaks to the very soul of Magic the Gathering. And if we are going to talk about the soul of Magic the Gathering in 2020, we're talking about something that is dead. Specifically, The Walking Dead. In my evaluation, the biggest mistake of 2020 was Secret Lair The Walking Dead. I don't think anything in all of Magic the Gathering's history matches the overwhelming community upset and dissatisfaction elicited through the selling of mechanically unique black border cards featuring exclusively a non-Magic IP and available once and only once for a short period through an online-only sale. To describe it as a civil war among Magic players was an understatement, and this turmoil was absolutely needless. It brought nothing to the game but perhaps a short burst of revenue, and sacrificed so much in the way of consumer confidence, player satisfaction, and the overall quality and character of Magic the Gathering. It was amazing to me to watch the reaction of Wizards of the Coast to their customer base. I can only describe it as scornful disdain. A live stream was held to more or less dismiss and never fully respect or even respond to community concerns. In that live stream, which I encourage you to watch, Wizards of the Coast staff insisted people were wrong, were not thinking clearly, were missing the point.
Also, The Walking Dead, the world is kind of Magic adjacent. So, it's a world full of zombies, and it's a world full of combat. And so it wasn't a stretch for us to imagine in the first place, like, oh, what would a card look like with these characters? It passed that test right away. We kind of quickly get to imagining these characters making sense as Magic card, which is the first test.
If this is your jam, go ahead and check it out and get a copy. And if it's not, then that's okay. You have 1,000 other decks you can be building or commanders you could be using instead.
The final piece of the puzzle is, like, there's a lot of Walking Dead fans in the building. Like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that worked on this, and people were excited about it. And so we always want to do stuff that we're excited by. And these were characters that we thought would be fun to see on commander tables near us.
Okay.
Unbelievably, they held a second live stream recently, wherein, for no reason that I can see, they took a victory lap around their own customer base, boasting about what a success The Walking Dead was financially, that it made the company so much more money than any other secret lair, and that, of course, more like it are to be expected. While companions can be errated and cards can be banned, The Walking Dead not only is here to stay, but it signifies a new direction for the game, a direction where profit is worth any cost, where there is no line that will not be crossed, where the community can literally come together and speak out in record number to just be laughingly rebuked by Wizards of the Coast. You know, a lot of people dismiss these sort of videos as me just stirring up trouble for clicks or whatever, but I believe in the value of criticism. Critical voices can evoke change, can offer perspective from outside of a bubble, can apply pressure on the makers of Magic the Gathering not to fail, but to apply pressure on them to succeed. I want this to be the best game in the world. I want Standard to be great. I want products to be amazing and worth it. And I want my cards not to be defective, poorly inked pieces of junk. Maybe I don't deserve a Christmas card, but I feel I bring value to this game nonetheless. I feel very strongly that Magic can and should succeed. My hope is for 2021 to be the year that Magic the Gathering becomes about the game again, and not just about how much you can spend on pieces and packs that aren't even playable, whether by design error, or simply being such poor quality that they could never be allowed in an official setting. So many Wizards of the Coast statements were made this year, measuring the success of 2020 in terms of profit and sales. But I want to see the success measured in terms of quality of the product, in terms of how great the game is. How's that for a goal? It's what I believe it used to be, long before the demand for doubling profits and exponential growth. And I'd like to see it return to that.